And it's another lawsuit that got filed here in California. And the headline is Pot Company owes 275,000 after taking on loans, the suit says. And this is a complaint that just recently got filed. And the plaintiffs, and I'm going to torture their names. They appear to be Asian names. Mr. Huang and Mr. Pai loaned $300,000 to a cannabis company in two notes that were classified as lines of credit and promissory notes. And they were supposed to defer payment of the principal. They were supposed to get 10% of the net profits. They had the right to extend it. And then another company, Cannabis Global Incorporated, acquired 38+% of the company that held these notes. Okay? And there was a non-payment for a long time. The company that acquired the note holding company paid some money, paid $25,000 towards the $300,000 owed. And then they worked out a new agreement to extend the payments. If they made monthly payments and gave them their 10%, they would extend the date of the notes, and they just didn't pay. So they sent out the demands, the typical pay me or I'm going to sue you, and they got ghosted. So they sued him. So this, just to back up a little bit, this is a complaint. It's allegations only. Nothing's been proven yet. The allegations are that they've been stiff for these loans, and the company that acquired them is a Nevada company, publicly traded. So you've got SEC issues that pop up, and the complaint is for breach of contract, which is pretty straightforward. We had an agreement, you breached it. And there's also a fraud allegation, and I'm not sure that one's going to hold water, because if you think you can pay a note and you sign the note and it turns out you can't, that doesn't make fraud. You have to know going into it and tell people, I'm going to pay you knowing you're not, and them to rely on it, and then don't pay them. So I don't know that one's going to hold up. We'll see. And the other one is the breach of the covenant, the applied covenant of good faith and fair dealing. There are certain relationships that create a fiduciary obligation to the other side. A mere contract is not necessarily one. So the litigator in me is looking at this going, well, I challenge the fraud. I challenge the implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing. And there's also some question about whether or not this acquiring company actually signed an agreement to do it. They claim there's a confirming email. Well, in my world, I want people's signature on shit. So I do mergers and acquisition work. And this just reminded me that if you're going to acquire a company, you need due diligence. You need to find out what all their debts are and make sure that you're going to assume them, and that I like to have an assignment and an assumption agreement from the company that we're assigning the debts to you and you're assuming them. So there I have a piece of paper. I walk in and say, they put in writing, they're going to assume these debts. Okay? If you don't have that, you're looking at some litigation here. And another thing that I didn't see here is any claim that there was attorney's fees provisions in these contracts. And I want to warn everybody, if you want to have a stick to be able to win in litigation, put a prevailing party attorney's fees provision in these. Because if somebody sues you and it turns out that they lose, then they're going to be paying you. They don't just run in and start suing for nonsense. It's got to be something they think they can prove. And if you can't, don't be doing it, because it's going to cost you a lot of money. So a couple lessons here. First of all, mere allegations. We'll see how this works out. But the other one is due diligence. If you're buying or selling a company in the cannabis industry, be extra careful. Know exactly what you're buying and what you're selling. Put it all in writing so that everybody has got in there, all their cards are on the table. You know what you're getting or what you're selling and how much. And so when people stiff you, you really can go to court and force them to pay you. That's my story for the day. So let me throw it back at you. What do y'all think?
Man, Dale, I mean, they're just basically saying, hey, you owed us this money. They may have some side manifest, they may not, and whatnot, or some other invoices for finances owed. And they're just, I mean, this just sounds like a normal case of people trying to collect their money in cannabis. I mean, I was just on the phone with someone yesterday, and they were telling me how they have over $2.5 million out to dispensaries for product that they've already sold that is owed to them.
Well, and it is a huge problem in the industry right now. Um, as the price dropped and these businesses start circling the drain,
Mm-hmm.
I got involved in purchase and sale of many of them. And it, for me as an attorney, it's my obligation to make sure that I understand the debt asset situation going in. When people don't bring attorneys in, and this is the Attorneys Full Employment Act here. If you don't get an attorney going in, you're going to need one at some point because your partner's going to fuck you. And if you don't have it all in writing and really clear, then you're going to be in court fighting over stuff you may not win.
Mm-hmm.
And as you pointed out, Jason, over the last couple of years, a lot of product has gone down range and been sold, and promises along the way to pay. And people owe. Peter has been robbing Paul to pay, the cultivator, and nobody's getting money. Everybody owes millions of dollars. It's unbelievable how much money's owed. And
I,
these debts just don't go away.
You know what I attribute a lot of that to, Dale, is the fact that that retails are hit the hardest. So if you have a standalone retail, you're going to get hit the hardest under a 280E tax structure, and I think that is one of the main reasons that a lot of these retailers don't have the funds to continue paying their invoices is in part due to that.
Well, what I've seen is there's not enough attention put to the details as you go into these, especially dispensary relationships. They're the hardest part of the industry to stay on because the public's coming in there, the taxes are heavy, the regulations are heavy. You can only get products and pass them along. You can't, take it out of a jar and put it into a
Mm-hmm.
bag yourself. So you get stuck with having to buy all these products to go out the door. If you don't have a clear plan and funding to be able to get through the low times, you end up taking product, you sell it, and then you can't pay people. And it's a vicious, vicious cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we are right now in the industry.
Very, very true. What are your thoughts on this, Rochelle?
Same old story, same old song and dance. People not paying each other in cannabis. It's an epidemic. It seems like it's more and more the narrative on a big scale, small scale. No one can get their bills paid. And I don't know what it's going to take to even the score, right? Even if we eliminate 280E, people are so deeply in debt and there are so many reputations that have already been destroyed. It's really difficult. I mean, can you trust in
Mm-hmm.
this space? Literally every person I know has been fucked over at least one time by a vendor, whether it was on purpose or just a result of circumstance. Back in the day when people were just trapping, it's like it's breakage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the consequences were whatever they were. Now it's like we're a business, and so businesses don't pay their bills for whatever reason. What kind of reputation is that going to result in long term?
Now, Dale, if there was some type of 280E relief put in place, that would not be retroactive to any of these businesses. You know what I mean? So it's not like you're all of a
Right.
sudden it's just going to be as of that day you're not subject to these taxes, right? From a legal
Well,
perspective.
exactly. You're not. You don't get retroactive application, but it doesn't wipe the debts out.
That's what
Okay.
that's my point. Yeah. So like the debts are going to continue to mount. But once the 280E relief is not going to continue to mount at such a rate as what it was previously mounting.
Well, and one of the problems I have, especially with dispensaries, where it's a lot of income coming in, is if you don't go into your dispensary with a plan with an accountant of how to deal with 280E realistically, and not overburden your business with too much overhead. Um, you get surprised when your accountant goes, "Hey, you owe X number." I mean, Cody Bass. Look at
Yep.
our friend Cody Bass. He's a couple $1 million deep because you don't have the plan to handle your 280E. It will kill you. It
Mm-hmm.
really literally will kill you because the tax people don't play. They show
Yeah.
up at your place and just take your money.
They'll do a till tap. I've had them come in and do a till tap before. That's probably
Oh
one of the
yeah.
most gnarliest things that you can experience.
They don't want your product, they want your cash.
Yeah, they want the
So they
money.
show up and just take your cash because they get an order, your tax lien. Here we are, we're taking your money. And
Mm-hmm.
it's brutal at that point because I can't fix it. I'm not a tax guy. It makes me nauseous, but we have to bring tax attorneys in and they're expensive and you just can't dig out of the hole at that point because you can't even afford to pay your vendors, let alone, attorneys that want 10, 20, $50,000 retainers to go in and represent you.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Planning, the message is planning. Know who you're getting in bed with when you go to business. Know where your money's coming from. Know when you expect to hit positive cash flow. Stick to those metrics and make sure that your board and your business understands where you're trying to reach your profit point, and get rid of dead weight, man. You don't need, 10 bud tenders anymore. Those days are gone. You need to be lean and mean right now and make sure you're making money and build from there.
Exactly. Exactly.